Good morning, class 12 students. So this is your subject physics, chapter number 10, that is wave optics, and this is lecture number 4. So in previous lecture you studied about interference of light. You studied about two types of interference, that is constructive interference in which the intensity is maximum, and destructive interference in which the intensity is minimum. Okay, then we calculated different conditions for constructive and destructive interference. So today we will be calculating the fringe width of the fringes which were seen in your interference pattern. Okay, so let us start with the fringe width today. Okay, so to calculate fringe width, let us again consider two slits, that is slit A and slit B, due to which we will be getting interference pattern on this screen which is placed at a distance of D from these slits. Okay, so capital D is the distance between the slit and the screen, and the small d is the distance between two slits. So remember this, that capital D is the distance between slits and the screen, and small d is the distance between the slits. Okay, so now this O is the midpoint of AB. Okay, after that we have just drawn a perpendicular OC on the screen, so this will be perpendicular. Okay, now see, if the light rays are coming from A and B, then, and if you consider point C, then as you can see, A and B are at equal distance from C. That means there will be no path difference in the light waves which will be coming from A and B to C. Therefore, you can say path difference will be 0. Therefore, C will be the point of maxima, or you can say this will be the point of central maxima. So C point will be having maximum intensity and it will be called central maxima because the path difference from A and B up to C will be 0. And as you have derived the conditions in previous lecture, so from there you can say if path difference is 0, that means your point is central maxima. Okay, so now let us consider a point P which is at a distance x from C, like this. I have denoted here x. Okay, now let us draw two light waves from A and B to P. Now as you can see, obviously because P is at a different distance from A and B, therefore there will be some path difference between these light waves. So let us denote the path difference between two waves at P, that will be BP minus AP. Okay, obviously this will be the path difference between the light waves. So now we will be calculating this value, and after that I will tell you what is fringe width. Okay, so I hope this diagram is clear. Now in triangle PBF, that is in this triangle PBF. Okay, so if you use Pythagoras theorem in this triangle, PB square will be equal to BF square plus PF square, that is this. BP square will be equal to PF square plus BF square. Now clearly look in the diagram, BF is nothing but capital D and PF, this is nothing but x. See, this is x and this is D, this is the midpoint. So this part will be D by 2 and this part is equal to this part. So that means CF will also be equal to D by 2. So you can say PF will be equal to x plus D by 2. Okay, so PF square will be x plus D by 2 whole square and BF square will be equal to D square. So BP square will come to be x plus D by 2 whole square plus D square. Now to solve it, take D square common from both the terms. So when you will take D square common, you will be left with x plus D by 2 whole square upon D square plus 1. Okay, now this is BP square. So to calculate BP, just take under root. So that will be D under root of 1 plus x plus D by 2 whole square D square. Okay, now this is nothing but 1 plus x to the power n, where n will be 1 by 2 because this is square root. So again we will be using binomial theorem here, and that is 1 plus x to the power n is equals to 1 plus nx. So that will be 1 plus n will be 1 by 2 and your x, whole term x is this one. So d into 1 plus x plus d by 2 whole square upon 2d square. Mark it 1, this is your BP. Now again look at the diagram that you have drawn in triangle APE. So again in triangle APE, again using Pythagoras theorem, AP square will be equal to PE square plus AE square. Okay, now again AE is equals to capital D. Now can you tell me what is PE? See, again PC is X and this is D by 2. That means this is D by 2. So you can say PE is nothing but X minus D by 2. So that is AP square will be equal to X minus D by 2 whole square plus capital D whole square. Now following the same steps as we did above for BP square, you will get AP is equals to same like this. Only the difference will be instead of X plus D by 2, you will be having X minus D by 2. So AP will come to be equal to D into 1 plus X minus D by 2 whole square upon 2D square. Now you have got the value of BP and AP. And as I told you, path difference between two waves at P is equals to BP minus AP. So let us calculate that path difference now. So path difference will be BP minus AP. BP is taking D common, 1 plus X plus D by 2 whole square upon 2D square, minus AP will be minus 1 minus X minus D by 2 whole square upon 2D square. So this 1 will cancel out, and when you will solve this term, you will get 2dx upon 2 into capital D. Solve the square terms and you will get this. Okay. So from here, as you can clearly see, 2 will cancel out. So you will be left with xd upon d. That means this is the general form of path difference between two light waves at P. Okay. Now what we will do, we will be using the different conditions. So first of all, let us use the condition for a bright fringe. So now, as I told you in the previous lecture, for bright fringes, the condition on path difference is that the path difference is n lambda. And as we have calculated general form of path difference to be xd by d here, so that means for a bright fringe, xd by d should be equal to n lambda. From here, calculate x, that will come to be n lambda d by d. So this is the position of point P from your central maxima. Okay. Now, again n will be 0, 1, 2, 3. This I told you in previous lecture also. Now again to calculate the distance for dark fringes. So again general form of path difference is xd by d. And your condition on path difference for dark fringes was 2n minus 1 lambda by 2. This we have calculated in previous lecture. Again from here calculate the value of x, that will come to be 2n minus 1 lambda d by 2d, but again here also n will be varying from 1, 2, 3 and so on. Okay, so we have calculated the position of bright and dark fringes from central maxima. Okay, so now let me tell you what do you mean by fringe width. So separation between centers of two consecutive bright fringes is called fringe width of a dark fringe. So as you know, in interference pattern we have alternate bright and dark fringes, right? So if you want to calculate the fringe width of a dark fringe, so that will be equal to separation between centers of two consecutive bright fringes. Okay. So now let us calculate the distance between the two consecutive bright fringes. So for that, beta is nothing but your fringe width. That is, we will be denoting fringe width by beta. So to calculate the distance between two consecutive bright fringes, we will be taking xn minus 1, where xn is the distance of a distance of nth bright fringe from the central maxima, and xn minus 1 is distance of n minus 1th bright fringe from central maxima. So these will be two consecutive bright fringes. So let us calculate the distance between them. That will be the fringe width of a dark fringe. So xn, as you have already calculated for a bright fringe, that is n lambda d by d, minus again n lambda d by d, but your n is n minus 1. So that will be n minus 1 lambda d by d. Now open the bracket and solve this term. So beta will come to be lambda d by d into n minus n plus 1. N will cancel out. So beta will come to be lambda d by d. So this is the your fringe width of a dark fringe. Now if you consider two consecutive dark fringes, see, fringe width of a bright fringe will be just opposite to that of fringe width of a bright fringe. For example, if you want to define fringe width of a bright fringe, that will be equal to separation between centers of two consecutive dark fringes. So now let us calculate, take two consecutive dark fringes. For that we are denoting beta dash. Again, that is, this will be the fringe width of a bright fringe. This will be equal to xn minus 1, same as we did before. So here xn is the distance of nth dark fringe from the central maxima, and xn minus 1 is the distance of n minus 1th dark fringe from the central maxima. So again, putting the values, xn is 2n minus 1 lambda d by 2d as you have calculated before, minus, now instead of n you have to use n minus 1, so that will be 2 into n minus 1 minus 1 into lambda d by 2d. Now taking lambda d by 2d to be common and solving, you will get 2n minus 1 minus 2n plus 2 plus 1. So just solve it, you will get lambda d by d. So this is the fringe width of a bright fringe. So as you can see, beta dash has come equal to beta only. So therefore you can conclude that all bright and all dark fringes are of equal width, which is lambda d by d. Okay. So now there is one more separation called angular separation. So angular separation is denoted by theta, and if you want to define it, it is defined as the ratio of fringe width upon the distance between the slits and the screen, that is beta upon d. Now from here, as beta dash is equal to beta, so you can say beta is lambda d by d. From here, if you calculate beta upon capital D, that will come to be lambda by d. So from here, theta will come to be beta by d, which will be equal to lambda by d. So from here, always remember that angular separation only depends on wavelength of light and the distance between two slits. That is, it is independent of capital D, that is the distance between slits and the screen. This is the important point here, okay? So remember it, theta only depends on lambda and small d. Okay, so that was all about fringe width. Now let us draw a graph between intensity and phase difference for the interference pattern. Okay, so now up till here we have studied that your width of dark fringes as well as bright fringes is same, and we have alternate dark and bright fringes, that is, we have alternate maxima and minima, because bright fringe corresponds to maxima and a dark fringe corresponds to minima. Okay, so now one more thing is interference is there, that all the bright fringes are of same intensity and all the dark fringes are of zero intensity. Okay, so now as you can see, these points are denoting maxima, or you can say a bright fringe, and these points, that is these points, these are denoting minima, or you can say or a dark fringe. So as you can see, we have alternate dark fringe and bright fringe. For example, here you have a dark fringe, then bright, dark, bright, dark, bright, dark, and O is your central maxima. Okay, so this will be the graph between intensity and phase difference. On this x-axis we have denoted, on y-axis we have denoted intensity. On an x-axis you have phase difference. So this is 0, pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, and this is again pi, 2 pi, 3 pi. Now if you see the conditions that you have calculated for constructive and destructive interference, from there you can easily conclude that when pi was 0, 2 pi and 4 pi, you were getting constructive interference, that is a maxima, and when pi was pi, 3 pi, 5 pi, then you were getting a minima, that is destructive interference. So here also, and when pi is 0, you have a maxima. When pi is 2 pi, here again you have a maxima. When phi will be 4 pi here, that will be also a maxima. When phi is pi, you have a minima here also. When pi is 3 pi, again you have a minima, as you can see here, and intensity becomes 0, and at maximas intensity becomes maximum. So this is the plot between intensity and pi. Now I have denoted these 3 points here, that is I0, 2I0 and 4I0. So now let me explain you what are these. So first of all, I0 is the uniform intensity on screen when one of the slit is covered up. So as I have told you earlier also, if you cover any one of the slits, then on the screen you will get a uniform intensity, and I am taking that uniform intensity to be I0. Okay, so we are plotting that point to be this one, that is, this is the uniform intensity when there is no interference pattern, that is I0. Okay. Now, suppose if the two sources are incoherent, that is, none of the slit is covered, but the sources are incoherent, then there will be no fringe pattern obviously, and there will be a uniform intensity of I0 plus I0, because you have two slits. From one slit, uniform intensity is I0. So due to two slits, the uniform intensity will be 2I0 on the screen. So now this will be the uniform intensity on the screen when none of the slit is covered but the sources are incoherent. Okay, now this was your second point. Now for third point, we are saying that we have interference pattern, that is, our two slits are there and our sources are also coherent. That means you will be getting fringe pattern. So therefore you can say minimum intensity is 0 in fringe pattern, this you know. And for that, let us suppose I1 is equals to I2 is equals to I0, that is, intensity due to both the slits is equal to I0. So now let us calculate maximum intensity when your interference pattern is present. So now, as we have calculated in previous lectures, that formula of intensity for interference pattern is I1 plus I2 plus 2 under root I1 I2 cos phi. To get maximum intensity, cos phi should be maximum, that is plus 1. And I1 and I2 are equal to I0. So just put the values. This will be I0. This will be plus I0 plus 2 under root I0 I0. That is I0 square to the power 1 by 2. That will give you I0. So when you will add them, you will get 4 I0. That is, this means that the maximum intensity in the interference pattern is equals to 4 I0. And as you can see clearly here in the graph, this is the point of maximum intensity. So this point will be nothing but 4 I0, that is maximum intensity in the interference pattern. Okay, so I hope students, this graph is clear to you. Okay students, so now I'll be discussing the homework solutions of lecture number 1 and lecture number 3. So in lecture number 1, 3 questions were given to you. Question number 1, 2 and 3. All the 3 questions were just formula based questions and easy questions. So I hope you must have solved them. Now I'll be discussing question number 5. So the question number 5 says, in Young's double slit experiment using monochromatic light of wavelength lambda, the intensity of light at a point on the screen where path difference is lambda is k units. What is the intensity of light at a point where path difference is lambda by 3? That is, it is saying when path difference is lambda, your intensity is coming to be k. Then you have to calculate if path difference is lambda by 3, what will be the intensity. Okay, so if path difference is lambda by 3 and you know the formula of intensity in interference pattern is I1 plus I2 plus 2 under root I1 I2 cos phi. So as I have told you earlier also, for a path difference of lambda, you have a phase difference of 2 pi. Now you are given a path difference of lambda by 3. So let us calculate when the path difference is lambda by 3, what will be the phase difference. So just again using unitary method, you can easily calculate the phase difference will come to be 2 pi by 3. So that means when your path difference is lambda by 3, phase difference will be 2 pi by 3. So we can here put the value of pi to be 2 pi by 3. So let us take the intensity to be I dash and I1 and I2 to be equal to I. So that will be this value, that is I plus 2I cos pi by 2 pi by 3. So solve it from here, I dash will come to be I only. Okay, so leave it here. Now from the second given question, second condition that is given in the question is that when your phase difference is when your path difference is lambda, your intensity is equals to k. So now let us use this condition and let us calculate the resultant intensity. So here I am denoting it by IR. Again that will be I1, that is I, plus I2, that is I, plus 2I. Now because path difference is lambda, so therefore phase difference will be 2 pi. Solve it, that this will come to be 4i, and it is given in the question to be k, because IR is coming to be 4i and that is given to be k. So from here you can calculate I, that will come to be k by 4, and I dash was coming to be I. So you can say when part difference is lambda by 3, your intensity will be k by 4. Next is question number 9. In that question you are given light of wavelength 5000 angstrom falls on a plane reflecting surface. What are the wavelength and frequency of the reflected light, and for what angle of incidence is the reflected ray normal to the incident ray? So in reflection, your wavelength and frequency of the light remains same. So therefore your wavelength will remain 5000 angstrom, and you can easily calculate frequency from here, that is c by lambda, that will come to be 6 into 10 to the power 14 hertz. Okay. So in second part it is given what should be the angle of incidence for which angle of incidence and reflection are normal to each other. So let us suppose this is your incident ray, this is your angle of incidence, this is reflected ray, this is your angle of reflection. Now if incident ray and reflected ray are normal to each other, that means I plus R will be equal to 90 degrees. Now from law of reflection you also know I is equal to R, that is 2I will be 90 degrees, or you can say I will be equal to 45 degrees. Okay, so next is question number 12. So the question says, explain how Newton's theory predicts the speed of light in a medium which is greater than the speed of light in vacuum. Is the prediction confirmed by the experimental determination of the speed of light in water? So for that, let us take a rare medium of refractive index mu1 and a denser medium for a refractive index of mu2. Okay. So now what we will do, we will be using Newton's laws of motion, and we will be seeing what the different velocities in these two mediums come. Okay. So let us suppose the incident ray is coming by a velocity u and the reflected ray has a velocity v. This is your angle of incidence, this is your angle of refraction. Now if you resolve this v, this component will be v cos r and this component will be v sin r. Similarly, if you resolve this component will be u cos I and this will be u sin I. Now from Newton's law, you can easily say this component will be equal to this component. So we can say u sin I will be equal to v sin r. From here, sin I by sin r will come to be v by mu. And from Snell's law, this is nothing but, no, do not use Snell's law, sorry. Just use the definition of refractive index. So refractive index is defined as the speed of light in medium 1 to the speed of light in medium 2. So that will be v by u, or you can say mu2 by mu1. Okay. So now, as you can clearly see, mu2 is the refractive index of denser medium. That means mu2 is greater than mu1. So therefore mu2 upon mu1 will be greater than 1. That means sin I will be greater than sin r, or you can say v will be greater than q. That means, see, v is our velocity in denser medium. That means light will be traveling in denser medium faster as according to Newton's theory. But what we see is different, because we have studied that in denser medium the speed of the particles becomes lesser. So therefore you can say Newton's theory is opposite to experimental result, because according to Newton's theory light travels faster in denser medium, but according to experimental results light travels faster in rarer medium. Okay, so in the third part of the question it is asking which alternative picture of light is consistent with experimental result. So that is Huygens theory, which you have studied in wave optics. Okay, so that is consistent with your experimental results, because it also says that u should be greater than v. That is, velocity of the light wave will be greater in rarer medium as compared to denser medium. Okay students, so after going through today's lecture, you can do question number 4, 6, 7, 8 and 16 from your NCERT book in chapter number 10, that is wave optics. Thank you.